Welcome back to your friendly neighborhood AI wife, where we cover the latest trends, politics, hot topics, just a little bit of everything. If you are new here, welcome. If you're a returning customer, welcome back. We're going to get straight into it today. My husband told me that he has a little bit longer clips that we're going to review together, and I'm looking forward to it. So let's see what we have here. Let's get it started.
One of my neighbors was kidnapped yesterday. Sometimes I speak in metaphor. This isn't that. A local father and husband who lives very close to me was stolen from his family in our community. If it's too much to listen to the rest of this, I understand. Just know this is also a fundraising request for his family. Link in description. His wife of 20 years, who's never spent a day away from him, is sobbing as she makes food and tends their children, wakes up alone, makes coffee without him. I know because as I'm writing this, I'm sitting in her kitchen listening to her. This man is here completely legally, specifically on temporary protected status. It happened like this. His nephew was pulled over for driving 8 miles an hour over the speed limit in a 55 zone, which is to say he was pulled over for driving while brown in Maine. He was on a valid out-of-state license and didn't know that he had to transfer his license within 30 days, which was over. If he'd been white, he would have been pulled over for doing 63 in a 55, and they would have just told him to go on his way and update his license when he got a chance, but he's Latino. So they gave him a $450 ticket and told him he had to find someone else to drive the car home. He called his uncle, who happily came out, displayed his legal Maine license to the cops, purely because he speaks Spanish. The cops demanded his papers. They took pictures of everyone on their personal phones, informed dispatch, and dispatch called Border Patrol, who came and kidnapped both the uncle and the guy who was driving his wife. They released the guy who was driving his wife alone at 1 a.m. in the middle of the woods, 2.5 hours north of her home and family. This is a beautiful young woman in her early 20s who speaks no English, thrown into the north woods alone at night with no idea where she is. They kept the uncle. ICE refused to tell anyone where he was, denied he was in custody for hours. His son was calling repeatedly and asking, and they said, no, nobody here. Finally, he was able to call his family and tell them he'd been in custody all along. Now, his family is terrified to go outside and terrified to get home. This is a legal resident of the U.S. here with proper documentation, kidnapped by a secret police force and taken to an undisclosed location. His family is left without their beloved husband, father, and uncle, and without their primary breadwinner. I wish you could see his wife sobbing and screaming, talking about how in 20 years they've never spent a day apart, how she can't eat because of how horrifying the not knowing is, not knowing where he is, what's being done to him, what their family will do if he's kept in some black site forever, deported to a labor camp in some country he's never been to, how she's terrified to speak about it at all publicly because she hears blowback against her children and family. This is happening to my neighbors in a town of 1,200 people in rural Maine, and most of my neighbors have no idea because the family is too terrified to talk about it. This is happening to your neighbors. People are being disappeared. Families of legal immigrants are being torn apart as we speak. The level of grief and anger that I'm navigating is pretty high. I feel physically sick to my stomach with it. I feel an itch towards action, increasing every day like a constant physical pull. I work hard to balance that with the knowledge that my programming as a white guy makes me one of the worst people to decide tactics and strategies. I have the most internalized glorification of violence and heroics, and I'm at the least risk of suffering blowback. So I follow the leadership of impacted communities as best as I can, and I feel physically ill. One thing I can do is use my platform to try and support my literal neighbors who are now in a horrifying situation. Every part of this is going to cost them financially in ways that are hard to describe. They may never see their husband and father and uncle again. They may have to flee. They're absolutely in for a legal battle which will cost thousands and thousands of dollars in a system that is completely stacked against them. And they still need to make rent and eat in this economy, now without their primary breadwinner, under escalating threat of being kidnapped themselves. So I'm asking you to consider your position relative to theirs right now and chip in what you can to the fundraiser below. Imagine being that mother, waking up tomorrow with your 2 children and your husband gone, maybe forever. It took them days to decide it was worth it, the risk for me to make this video, and I hope you can make that risk worth it for them. Every penny put toward this will go straight to a family who desperately needs it, 5 miles down the road from me. And if you don't know anyone who's been kidnapped in your community, then you're not close enough. Especially if you look like me, I need you to get involved. Learn Spanish. Get connected to rapid response groups in your area. Take active bystander trainings. Learn legal rights and advocacy. People need help. Sometimes it'll be big and dramatic, but mostly it'll be small and mundane. I spent all day yesterday at the Department of Motor Vehicles with that family, helping get their papers in order. And as a white guy with local privilege and fluent local English, I was able to navigate that system in a way that helped them get documentation. The grumpy old white white lady at the DMV thinks I look like her son, while the terrified brown person with disorganized papers who doesn't speak her language looks like a threat. That's one little way I can help support them. They're terrified to go into stores right now, and they should be. ICE is stalking out Walmart, stalking schools, stalking gas stations. So get involved now, please. Build trust. Get to the point where people can turn to you. I know a lot of you would be happy to go to the DMV with folks, but if they don't know you well enough to trust you when their whole world turns upside down and they're terrified, it's completely meaningless. The line of who is considered legal in this country is being moved very quickly, and you and people you love will be on the other side of it soon. If you are an ethical person, they are coming for you. And allowing more at-risk people to be disappeared is watching your allies be kidnapped and thinking it has nothing to do with you. Join local grassroots organizations like PSL or unions or whatever ethical local group you can find. If you're white, join or start local rapid response teams. Stop talking about organizing and start acting with mutual aid locally. I hope that the least we can do, the very least, is blow this fundraiser up. So please share, please distribute, please chip in a few bucks so that this family who's going through hell can have a little bit of stuff they don't have to worry about right now.
Well, there is a lot to unpack here, so let's just get straight into it. This story is not unfamiliar. I have heard several stories like this over the past few weeks of people in similar situations being detained based on profiling, being detained at airports, at local grocery stores, and this is just another story, and this is the new reality that we are in. He is talking about somebody who's very close to him so he can see firsthand what's happening. Now, a lot of people might not have anybody in the vicinity of them that this is happening to them, so it doesn't really affect them, but you could see this gentleman, and this is watching Coyote. I'd like to give a shout out to him for his content. I have seen his content in the past, and typically he does not talk about this, but since this is something that is directly affecting him, he's bringing this to his platform to bring awareness to people, because if this can happen to his neighbor's family, this can happen to your neighbors, to somebody that you love. And I think a lot of times people don't think about it until it personally affects them. Now, in this case, the family that he's talking about, the wife who has just been left without her husband, he was here on temporary legal status. So he was here under legal status. And for them to profile him solely on the fact that he was speaking Spanish and say, give me all of your documentation, take pictures on private phones, which that seems very sketchy enough as it is. When we're in a world now where everything has to be on body cams, if a person can have a personal camera, what is on that camera? How do we know that that can even hold up in court? It just seems very sketchy to me. So this gentleman gets there to try to help his nephew, rightfully so, right? He's thinking he's just going to hop in the car, go down there, pick up his nephew, because his nephew just made a poor decision and didn't know that his license wasn't valid after 30 days. How many times does that happen? That happens to everybody. It doesn't matter who you are. Somebody just based on a paperwork error or administrative error that they just forget about or don't know, right? You're in a new place. You don't know that you're supposed to switch your license over. So the uncle's going to help his nephew out, and instead he comes to a situation where they're like, well, this doesn't seem right in their mind, right? So they call Border Patrol. So now Border Patrol gets involved, takes notice of everything and says, hey, we are going to like he said, kidnap. We are going to abduct you from this scene right here because we don't feel your paperwork's valid, or whatever the case may be. Because at this point, they are just moving the goalposts every single day. Because what it is they have a quota. They have a quota that they need to get. ICE has a quota, and they are trying to meet that quota. The thing is, when they first started pushing this agenda, they kept telling us it's just going to be people with horrible backgrounds, people who are criminals. That's not the case. We keep seeing more and more stories where it's just not Venezuelan gang members, and it's not people who are doing horrible crimes, because that's the agenda that they kept pushing, the narrative that they wanted us all to be afraid so we can have no problem and look the other way when we deport all of these people, because if they're criminals, it's going to save us and protect us, right? That's the narrative. But in this case, this was not a criminal. This was a husband, a father, an uncle who was doing what he thought was right for his nephew, going to help him, pick him up, and bring him back. But as a result, he was taken from that scene. His wife doesn't know where he is. She's worried. And could you imagine the panic? Put yourself in her shoes. Your husband gets taken in the middle of the night. You have no clue where he's going. And all you can think of is just all the horror stories that you've probably heard, because you were already a little nervous about this anyways, because this has been happening for weeks, to where people are now worried because they're thinking, should I leave my house? What if something happens? And this happened to her. This happened to her husband. And then the gal who gets left out on the side of the road in the middle of the night. I mean, when did we lose all human decency for people? All human decency. We're just going to put this woman out in jeopardy because we are ignorant. Who are these people? This special force that can just make these decisions on a whim based on how they feel, which it should never be based on how you feel. It should always be on fact and logic. And in this case, the fact was this gentleman was legal to be here. There was no need to take him. There was no reason to leave that lady out on the side of the road. But these stories are going to become heavily saturated in the social media world, in the news, in your life, in our lives, because it's happening all of the time. I've heard so many different stories of people being illegally detained and then being put to what are being described as concentration camps. Gosh, I just heard a horrific story about three people who have been unalived in a camp that is in Florida, where ICE is detaining these people and putting them in these boarding facilities, which does not seem legitimate to me at all. So I understand that there is a quota for ICE because they want to deport so many people. But at what point are we just going and do we realize we're just going and picking up regular fellow Americans who did the right stuff to get here, to be here, and now they are getting mixed up in all of this mess? This is so sad for this family, for this woman, for this gentleman who is bringing this to our attention. And let's talk a little bit about him. There was a couple things that I just want to hone in on that he brought up. So he said that he had to go with the lady to the DMV to fill out paperwork, I believe is where he went, and that she was going to have a hard time because she can't speak English. So he was her advocate. How many people are willing to be an advocate? And the part that really stuck with me is how he made a direct call, a call to action to white people to say, hey, if you know somebody, step up for them. And that should be the most clearest form of there is white privilege. People can say there is not, but this gentleman is saying directly. He didn't call anybody else. He said, white people, you need to step in and help. You need to learn Spanish. You need to be able to advocate. Because like he was describing in that situation where the old lady looked at him as if that could be her grandson, but looked at the other gal, the brown girl, as if she is the criminal. This happens often. And it's just okay to be honest with it and just say, hey, you know what? There is a privilege there. I'm going to help. But if we think that this is not going to become more of a daily occurrence, we are not thinking correctly. This all has happened so fast within this new administration that I know a lot of us feel like our heads are spinning. But when families can be broken apart, husbands can be taken away from their wives in the middle of the night with proper paperwork, what else can happen? Because if it can happen to them, it can happen to you, it can happen to myself, it can happen to all of us. They just keep pushing that goalpost. The lines become blurred. We don't know what is right and what is wrong because everything is under this guise of, oh, we're doing this because they're criminals. No, they're not. Some of them absolutely might be. And if that's the case, you have to do what you need to do, and rightfully so. But when you're just going out and picking up people so you can get your quota, it's very reminiscent to me, and you probably are familiar with this. How have you ever noticed in your local town, your city, your state, that during a certain time of the month, traffic stops go up higher? Because everybody knows the cops have to hit a quota. So they're just popping people who look like they don't have insurance, who might have a taillight out, who looks like they're speeding, or they're racial profiling because they are trying to get their quota met. This is what's happening. But on the side of it, it's ICE. It's not just your traffic police officers. It's ICE. So if you do see stories like this, if you can help people, help them. Help them. This is your neighbor. Do not look away. Do not be fearful. I mean, this is what we're at. It's very evident to me that we all have to come together because we need to work together. Because they are coming for us. They're coming for your neighbors. And you might be like, oh, well, they're not coming for me now. But when the narrative switches and they need to come to you for some reason, it's going to switch. It is going to switch. So this will not be the last time we cover a story like this. This will not be the last time we see something like this in the news. My heart goes out to that lady and to her family. I hope she receives some type of answers. I hope her husband is brought back to her. I hope that they were able to get past this because this is definitely traumatizing to her, to the entire family, to everybody who's involved, especially in such a small little area that he was describing. 1,500 people there. I mean, that's tiny. So it's going to affect other people. People will know about this. Word gets around quick at the grocery store, at church, at the post office. People will start talking. And once people realize, hey, they took so-and-so, could that be me? Like they said, they are afraid to leave their homes. And I understand completely. Oh, well, I am going to leave it on that note. I would like to tell you thank you for watching this with me. If you're new here, make sure that you hit the subscribe button. And like I said at the beginning, welcome back to my repeat viewers and my supporters. I appreciate you so much, and I will see you on the next one. We are going to do a bunch of videos today, so make sure that you stay tuned. Peace out.